Hi, everyone. This is Noreen Sumter from Live Life Your Way. Beyond Potential, Live Life Your Way. I wonder how everyone is doing this week. It is Tuesday, and of course, it's my favorite day of the week. I have had a good day, except for about, I'd say, 10% of my day, which was not very, well, it was a good day. I just had an incident. I would call it an incident. Something happened that I didn't enjoy and I didn't like. And, you know, I'm talking about how to win friends and influence people tonight. So I'm having a conversation with Dale Carnegie from the grave, right? This book was written in the 1930s, and I think it's awesome. But anyway, let me just tell you about my weekend. So I always like forget what I do over the weekend, but I did have a really good Saturday. I went to a plastic surgeon. Yeah, I went to a plastic surgeon because the people that know me, they know that I'm curious about a lot of things. And so when I get invitations to come and do something that I wouldn't ordinarily do, I jump on it. So I had the privilege of visiting with my friend who is a psychiatrist, and her sister is a plastic surgeon, right? So I went to her Park Avenue. She has a Park Avenue office, quite beautiful, really. And I missed the first half because I was with a client of my own on Saturday, and then I had to hike into the city. So I missed her presentation, but I did get to sit in and watch some services, right? And, you know, I don't know. Would I do it? I don't know. I'm kind of scared because, like, I'm thinking, what if I'm like Kanye West's mother and have an allergic reaction or some kind of reaction and end up dead or something? It kind of scares me. And it does intrigue me at the same time because, you know, oftentimes you've got your face and you see your face all the time, right? So there's like critiques that I have of it, like some blotches here, or as my sister calls me, panda, because she says I have dark circles around my eyes, but I've had dark circles around my eyes since I was a kid, right? And they haven't gone away, but she says they're a little bit lighter now, but I'm still a panda. And so, right. So, but I know they're there. Right. And so, or I might have a blotch here or there, or, you know, some pimples or something. And, or this thing that I have here, this little waddle. This thing, what do I call it? I call it my pelican brief, because you know, like when pelicans go like that and they catch fish and the fish comes down and the fish goes down their throat. It's like a pelican, right? So I always call this my pelican brief, and I called it because that movie that came out many years ago, right? So pelican brief. And so I have that. And if I was going to do anything, that's the thing that I would do, is my pelican brief. However, I do have a concern, right? Because, you know, when you start fooling around with your face, right, you do this and then all of a sudden you see something else and then you see something else. And it reminds me of a friend of mine who went and got her eyes done. And oh my Jesus, when I saw her, I was like, what happened to your face? I didn't know that she had surgery, but her eyes looked all squinty and they looked like they chopped her lids off, you know, because she had that thing, you know, between your eyelids and your eyebrows. She had that area done, but it was like too tight. So I'm kind of concerned that, like, I start pulling away at my face, that something else is going to show up or something else is going to happen. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. So that's not something but it was fun. Anyway, you know, the long story short of it, it was fun. I mean, if I do it, I'll let you know. But, you know, I don't know. It's scary. So anyway, tonight I am talking about this book by Dale Carnegie. We all know that name. You know, Dale Carnegie, Carnegie Hall, and Carnegie this and Carnegie that, Carnegie Deli and Carnegie. Well, tonight I'm looking at the revised edition of How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book is as old as the hills, and it's actually I think it's 80th anniversary, right? And it was written in 1930s, and they only published 5,000 copies because they didn't have an expectation that it would even sell, right? And so when it hit the market, people went absolutely mad, right? And it just sold out. And Simon and Schuster, who were the publishers, you know, you think of these companies, you don't realize they're so old, but Simon and Schuster it was off the chain, this book, because people were hungry for something different. And I think back then they were saying that 7 out of 8 books or something were a bum, right? And most of those books were financial books. I guess in the 30s, many financial books weren't really, they weren't really helpful given what was going on, the crash. So I've just picked it up and I've just been sort of studying it. I've been actually studying a lot of Dale Carnegie's work because I think if you're in business, it's important to, you know, look at some of these tenets, even though they were written in 1930s, they still apply today, you know. And I just like some of the simple things, like if you want somebody to be interested in you, be interested in them. And he talks about a lot of various stories about people being interested. They want stuff, but they don't go for what they want first. They find out what is interesting about this person, what they care about, what they want in their lives, and really spend time focused over there. And then, so people, and one of the things he says, which is, I'm at fault for this, right? And my brain can't hold all the contents of names and businesses and this and that and all the other stuff. It can't hold that content. But what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to exercise that muscle to remember people's names, right? Because the sweetest sound is hearing your name called. Yeah. I was in the city today and I was on 23rd and 5th and I heard, Noreen! I looked around and I swear to God, I know the guy, but for the life of me, I know what he does. I know his business, but I can't remember his name. And I spent approximately 6 months with this man. About 5 years ago, we were doing a course together and for the life of me, I cannot remember his name. Right. And that can't happen. Like he kissed me. I knew him. I could tell you about his wife. I could tell you about his kid. I could tell you about his business, but I've forgotten his name. So this is one of the things that Carnegie, we have to remember people's names. So that's a practice that I'm taking on. What's your name again?
Not so sweet, is it? You want my name or do you actually remember?
Yeah, Gary, right? No.
Sweet. That's the sweetest thing to my ears. Bruce. My name is Bruce.
Bruce, give him your last name.
Chanoff.
Bruce is on our show. Bruce Chanoff is on our show, and he is our internet. No, he's our social media. Social media?
A little bit of both.
Social media, internet, websites, all those things that we need today. And he's the man. And he just finished his show, and I told him what I was doing for my show, and he was like, "Oh, I love this book. Can I sit and can I stay for your show?" And of course,
I read the book. Yeah.
So yeah, what do you love about the book?
Well, that's funny because what you said about the sweetest sound to anybody, that's the chapter that always resonates with me. Okay, what's the sweetest sound to somebody? It's always their name.
Right.
Now, what's funny, I got an interesting short quick story about that too. Like the guy that actually called, "Hey Noreen, you called." When I was in high school, there was another guy in my homeroom named Bruce. And this other guy said, "Hey, Bruce." And I turned around, what? He goes, "No, the other Bruce."
And what was
I wanted to strangle him. Right. That's what it was like. So the sweetest word to somebody's, not always, but you know, but yeah. But well, when you're the only one in the room, yes.
Well, my name, I'm always the only one in the room. It's very, even though I've met a few recently, my name is not a very common. I hated my name when I was growing up. I was like, Noreen, it's like an old person's name, right? And so my godmother gave me my name, Noreen. I'm like, where did you get it from? Why couldn't I be like Cheryl or, Candy or Cindy or so? I always wanted to be Cindy from the girl from that show. What was that show? With the
Golden Girls?
No. It was the one with the, my memory is losing. I'm losing my memory. The one with the kids and the Brady Bunch. I always wanted to be called Cindy. And also Cindy was a very American name. I always wanted to be called Cindy, but Cindy, I guess, is short for Cynthia in some ways, right?
Do you want to be like Cindy with an I or Cindy with a Y?
Cindy with an I, baby, with an
No, but
I.
wait, but which one? The first I or the second I? You can have
Cindy with an S. Cindy. But no, I was Noreen, and I hated my name. And it wasn't until I actually grew up and found out what my name meant that I was like, yo, that is pretty hot. My name means woman of honor. And it comes from the family of Nora, Honora, Norma. All of those names are like, in that group. And also my name is very common in the Middle Eastern countries, or in a lot of countries, but mostly Middle Eastern countries. It means light. And I love that. So it wasn't even so much as the name itself, but it was like the meaning of the name, which is really powerful. So I really love that. So what else did you love in the book?
Well, I used to talk about myself all the time, and sometimes I still do. And there's that chapter in there about talking to the other person about them, and not about you. And I think for most people it's common sense, but when I read that, that was an eye opener. It just is. And people don't give a crap about you technically. They want to hear about themselves. And that book just
outlines hear about myself. That's boring.
Exactly. But most people do.
I want to hear I've always been, people always used to call me nosy because I ask a lot of questions. I want to hear about you. I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know what makes you, even if it's a little kid, right? Little tiny tots. I love to talk to them because they'll tell you all about themselves, right? And I love to find out about people who are what they do, what they're interested in. I remember I started talking to this man that I met at a party, and he was like 80 years old. And I said to him, wow, you're 80 years old? And he was like, yeah. And I said, you don't look it, and he was like, oh, thanks. I said, because I've always wondered, what would my life be like at 80? Who am I going to be like? So I asked him the question, did you ever stop and wonder when you were in your 40s what it would be like when you got to your 80s? And he was like, no. I said, really? He says, no, because I'm pretty much doing the same things I did when I was 40 that I do now as 80. So I'm like, very curious about that. So can you tell me what did you do when you were 40 that you're doing now that you're 80? So he goes, I still date women. I still love to go out and eat a good meal. I still like to go out with women, a sexy woman. Good. I still like to travel. Well, he ain't dead, He's very much alive.
A sexy woman for him is like 72.
No, a sexy woman for him was like in her 40s. So just because this guy was in his 80s doesn't mean that he was cold. My mother said that. She goes, I'm old, I'm not cold. Right? And so it's always good to be interested in people. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you stuck in a rut? Negative thoughts, feelings, and conversations got you down? Hi, I'm Noreen Sumter, the Potentiator. Tune in every Tuesday, 9 to 10 Eastern Time, and listen for new ideas on my show, Beyond Potential. Live life your way on talkradio.nyc.
Who do you want to connect with?
Are you an entrepreneur or intrapreneur looking to build your following?
Welcome to our show.
Follow Me Friday with Joan
and Priya.
Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern
on talkradio.nyc.
We're your digital connectors.
Woo woo!
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Hi, this is Noreen Sumter, and I'm back with Bruce, my I'm going to just call you my co-host tonight. I'm going to promote you, babe. I'm going to promote you tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so he runs a show here, which is all about the internet. So if you're stuck in a rut and you don't know anything about the computers, on the internet, social media, I would like you to tune in at 8 o'clock on Tuesday. Is it 8 o'clock? 8 o'clock on Tuesdays, and listen to his show. You can learn a lot. He's pretty good at what he does, fellas.
Thank you.
Guys and girls.
Thank you, Noreen.
Yes. So one of the things that he talks about in this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is smiling. Smiling. That simple thing that we're all born with. We're all born with lips. We're not born with teeth, but we are born with lips, and we get teeth later. Maybe some of us keep our teeth, and maybe some of us lose our teeth. But a smile, he says, is worth a smile. Words are worth 1,000 something another, but a smile. I'm trying to figure. A smile makes you happy. I'll find it in a minute. I just lost it.
Well, I'll say this. I think it takes 12 muscles to smile, but it takes 72 muscles to frown.
Right. And and also there's they can now, when you die, they can actually do recreate your face, and they can look at your face and see what kind of person you were, if you smiled a lot or if you didn't smile a lot. My face is like one big smiley. And it's funny because I think it's really one of the stories in here is he talks about a gentleman that works at the post office, and that he goes in, not Dale Carnegie, but a story. He goes into the post office, and he looks around, and he sees this guy who's really frowny face, doing his work. And so this person happens to go to the counter where that guy, and his mission was to make the guy smile. Right? I kind of do that sometimes as well. Like somebody who's really grinchy. I start wondering about them. Are they like that, or are they just like that at work? And then I start a conversation, and you find this whole new person. So he goes up to this guy, and he gives him a compliment. He says, "Wow, you have the best hair." I'm exaggerating a little bit. Probably didn't say it like that. Right? "You have the best hair." And the guy looked up and went, "Wow, thank you so much." Right? And he goes, "You should have seen it when it was X." Because it was like he had a big full head of hair, and now he says his hair is not as much as he used to. But people love compliments, so it's like, to make somebody smile, if you give them a compliment, it makes a difference. Do you have anything about smiling? You have a smiley face.
Oh my gosh, I never stop smiling, and sometimes the people love it, and sometimes they hate it. but you're right. I think smiling is always the first, or lack of smile,
right,
is usually the first thing that you notice about somebody you've never met before. And it also determines if you're approachable or not. I mean, that's another thing, right? I mean, nobody wants to approach somebody who looks upset or serious. You always approach people who are smiling. Right. Because it just seems like they'll invite you into the conversation.
Well, it says Abraham Lincoln once remarked that most folks are about as happy as they make their minds up to be. So, happiness is always a choice, right? And I'm trying to find that part. I should have made better crib notes, but I didn't. The effect of a smile is powerful, even when it is unseen. And I heard this when I first came to the United States. Not that we didn't smile in England, but when I first came to the United States, I was working on a job where I had to do a lot of telephone calls. It wasn't telephone marketing. It was just hundreds and hundreds of phone calls that I used to have to make, and we'd have to go through these sheets. And what I would do is I would make up different voices. I would make up different voices and different accents, and try to entertain myself so I wouldn't go stir crazy mad. And one of the things that they would say is smile down the phone, right? So if you've got a grinchy face, and you're like, so I can't even do a grinchy face because it's just so uncommon for me. But if I was like this, so hello, yes. So if I'm doing my show and my face, and I'm like, yeah, so I'm talking about smiling, and yeah, it's really good to sort of smile, as opposed to, and smiling and being happy is a choice, as opposed to, just an occurring, right? I'm not smiling. I'm smiling inside my head. I can't even keep it up. It's ridiculous. I love smiling, but smiling down the phone when you have a customer service, or if you're calling like my T-Mobile, I love T-Mobile. I always say that. I love T-Mobile. Why? Because I smile down the phone at T-Mobile. When I smile down the phone at T-Mobile, you can 100% guarantee I'm going to get what I want, right? And the last thing I got from T-Mobile was the Galaxy 8. Right? Because I was doing a lot of smiling. I wrote a letter and I did a lot of smiling on that phone, and they gave me the Galaxy 8. So it's really important to smile. Smile on the subway. We need a smile on the subway in the morning when it's cold and it's hideous. And it's like people will look at you and they'll look away. And they'll look at you and they'll look away. And then when you smile at them, it's like you can see their eyes drop, or they're double checking. Is she smiling at me? And then they smile back. It's so great. I was stuck on the train for an hour last week. All we did was smiling.
What you said about smiling on the phone, right? Mm-hmm. You can tell when somebody loves or hates their job.
Absolutely.
And especially, and they make it a lot of fun to just call up, right? You have a problem with your insurance or your phone company, and the person says, "Can I help you?" And I don't
what kind of voice is that? Sounds like a penguin or something.
Well, I'm like you. I make different voices. We do. We're like a lot of like that. No, so, and you can tell that you don't want to be on the phone with that person. You just want to get to the point and get out.
No, I usually spend time with them.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah. I know that. No, I know. But when they smile, there's no problem.
Yeah, but even when they're grunchy, I still smile down the phone and shift the energy. Because if I can shift the energy, I'm going to get what I want. But if I don't shift the energy, and if I get into a, frowny conversation with that person, trust me, I'm not going to get anything I want. I'm going to get put on hold or passed around. But when I smile down the phone, what I found is that people are nice and they're gracious and they're kind, especially if you use their name. Whoa, if you use their name, it's like, hello. And if you say, hi, how are you today? They're like, fine. Because they don't hear that. Customer service, I imagine it's getting more and more in our society. And I imagine that it is probably not a very good job, because the average person is not kind and generous.
My insurance company, they just tell you the last name. I'm Mrs. Smith.
Right.
I'm like, what's your first name? You're right about that. I mean, and I agree. I tell that to people too. When you address them by their name, they completely change.
Completely shift. And you get what you want. I never have that fight. So here's a really good story about smiling. This guy is what's his name? Mr. Steinhardt is taking a class, right? And it's about smiling, because he doesn't smile very much. He has a glum face, is how he describes it. So I've been married for over 18 years, wrote Mr. Steinhardt. And in all that time, I seldom smiled at my wife or spoke 24 words to her from the time I got up until I was ready to leave for business. Can you imagine living with that? I'd be a nervous wreck, especially in the 30s, where I'm a woman. I can't have a job. I don't have a job particularly. I'm raising 10,000 children because there's no birth control, right? And this, I can't divorce this man because I don't want a big scarlet D on my forehead, And I have to deal with this man who doesn't speak to me in the morning, doesn't speak to me at night, and doesn't smile. So he said, I was one of the worst grouches who ever walked down Broadway. When you asked me to make a talk about experiences with smiles, I thought I would try it for a week. So the next morning, while combing my hair, I looked at my glum mug in the mirror and said to myself, Bill, yours today. You're going to smile, right? And you're going to begin right now. And as he sat down to the breakfast table and greeted his wife with a good morning, my dear, and smiled as I said he would do, she nearly lost it, right? He said, you warned me that she might be surprised. Well, you underestimated her reaction. She was bewildered and shocked. I told her that the future she could expect was a regular occurrence. And he kept it up every morning. He started smiling at her, and their whole relationship changed, his whole attitude changed. I couldn't even imagine living with a man that doesn't smile, doesn't talk to me in the morning. I probably want to kill myself, But he literally changed his life, and he found out that going to work, the guy, I think the mailroom guy or the clerk, said to him, I was terrified of you because you were really grunchy. you know, and you never smiled. And now that you smile, it's a whole different thing. I mean, practice it. Like, take it on for a week, smiling. If you're not a person that smiles very much, take on for 1 week, just smiling at somebody that you see regularly and see what happens in your life. See what miracles can show up. You know, it's like when you smile, it's like little bits of glitter just sort of shoot out of your head and shoot out of your face and impacts other people. You know, a smile is infectious. So I'm going to request that you guys try it on for a week. Are you with me? Joan, are you with me? Paula, Mela smiles all the time, and Gladys, they smile all the time. So, all right, let's move on to another one. That was smiling. Yeah, did I do being interested in other people? Oh, we did remembering a person's name. So being interested in other people, right? Interested in what they're about, what they care about. I'm going to share a story that happened for me. I'm always talking to strangers. I live my life talking to strangers. And this weekend, I did a debut of a pilot for NBC with these kids that I met in the coffee shop. Why? Because I was smiling. Well, actually, not because I was smiling, but, you know, they gave me a compliment, which, again, is one of the tenets in the book, giving compliments. The guy said to me, your hair is fabulous. And I went, okay, thank you. Right? And I says, your hair's quite fabulous, too. And I said to him, because I'm nosy like that, what are you guys doing? I hear you, you know, bantering over there. They said, oh, we're rehearsing because we're going to be shooting a pilot tomorrow. And so I said, who wrote it? So the young girl, she says to me, I wrote it. And I said, good job. She goes, I'm terrified. I said, why are you terrified? She goes, because it's just so quick and everything's just happening so quick. And I said, girl, be ready to be ready to be ready. You are ready. Right? And she goes, what do you do? I says, I'm a personal life coach. She goes, will you come and coach us? And I said, when is it? And so she said, Friday. So I showed up there Friday. Not only was I coaching them, they introduced me as the director. I have never directed in my life. And I just channeled director, right? And all of this stuff came in, all this energy, blocking. I never blocked, you know, like setting things up, where the door is and whether this is and whether that is. And it was so great. I had such a great time. So shout out to Roll It Out. So, yeah, I mean, smiling, it opens doors. It creates I think it can create everything that you want, you know. But anyway, and that was being interested in other people. In my the way I term it is being nosy.
I got a question about
being nosy and curious.
Chapter.
Go ahead.
We can talk about it.
We're going to talk about it after the break. We'll be right back. Bye.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you into comics, movies, and pop culture at large? What about music and TV? Then you're in for a treat. This is Michael Dolce, your host on TalkingAlternative.com. I've been professionally writing comic books, screenplays, and music articles for almost 15 years. Catch my show, Secrets of the Sire, at its new primetime slot, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and get the inside scoop on the pop culture universe you love to talk about. For more info, go to secretsofthesire.com.
Hello, this is Bruce Chamoff, host of the Web Design and Technology Coach. Join me and my guests every Tuesday from 8 to 9 p.m. as we discuss the latest in web design, social media marketing, search engine optimization, and technology. We also discuss popular topics, including WordPress, making money online, better Google rankings, and more. Every month, we also feature the best unsigned music from around the world, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Hi, this is Noreen Sumter, and it's Beyond Potential, Live Life Your Way. And I'm with my co-host, Bruce.
Hello.
And we're talking about how to influence friends, how to win friends and influence people. And I'm channeling Dale Carnegie, the modern version, who giggles a lot. There's a black woman. All right. So you had a question for me at the break.
Okay, so this is interesting. That chapter called
How
to be interested in other people.
Right.
And then you mentioned some people it might come off as nosy to some people. Now, I also worry about that too. You ask people too many questions about themselves and you want to be genuine, but some of them thinking, whoa, what's this person after? They're asking me too many questions. So how do you get in the middle? How do you seem interesting? You want to be interesting, right? Interested. And how do you not come off as nosy?
Okay,
so you mentioned both.
So my thing is this: people, first and foremost, I have the right to ask questions, any question I want, and because I give people the right to ask me any question they want. And so, if I'm asking a question, that person has the right to say, "I don't want to answer that," and that actually happens very, very rarely, right? Where somebody says, "I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to mention that," right?
That's true. Yeah.
But more often than not, it's none of my business how they feel, or what the nosiness is or what the nosiness isn't. I'm not being nosy. I'm curious. I'm interested. I want to know about them. So if I'm worried about being nosy, what's going to show up? What's going to show up is that I'm nosy, right? But if I'm interested in that person, what's going to show up is a genuine interest, or as you say, genuine, right? A genuine interest.
Potato.
That and people want to talk about themselves. They want to share, and I think the myth is that we live in New York City and that people are sort of going, they're so fast, they're tunnel vision, they're not interested. No, I think that's a bloody lie. I think when I get on the train or I go in a coffee shop or I meet somebody in some weird place, I mean, they're so interested in sharing their whole life, what they're about, what they're interested in. I had a conversation today with a girl that I met 2 weeks ago. I spoke to her for 15 minutes and I thought she was just bloody awesome. Young girl, millennial. And I said, we should have a chat. We should do gains, right? And so for those of you who don't know what the gains is, the gains as goals. What are your goals? What are your accomplishments, your interests, your networks, and your skills, right? And so you speak to people from that. So if I ask you, what is your goals in life? Or if you don't even want to go that deep, what's your goals for the radio station?
Right.
I'm asking you a question.
Oh, yeah, she asked me. Oh, I thought you were talking hypothetically. Yeah. Sorry. So my goal is to actually brand myself.
Right.
To build a brand. So
you want to build a brand. Right. So that's one of your goals. My goal is to be just happy. Like, that is my number one goal on the planet.
I think you've reached that goal a long time ago.
No, it's a goal that is expansive. It's a never-ending goal, right? It's to be happy. And then everything else stems from there. What I do, who I be, who I love, what I trust, all of that stems from there. Even today, having a 10% shitty afternoon, my goal is still to be happy. I'm not going to let that situation take over my whole life, right? So accomplishments, it's like you talk to somebody about their accomplishments. What are your accomplishments, right? My accomplishments, like, I'm just going to do a simple one, which I remember, which is I just did the polar bear plunge. That's a big accomplishment for me, right?
Did?
In 2018, I did the polar bear plunge on the coldest day of a year in 100 years,
that's
right?
Definitely not a goal of mine.
Right? So it's like, that was an accomplishment, right?
Congratulations.
And so talking about that, people want to hear about that because a lot of people want to do it, but we're all afraid to do it because we're afraid of the cold. I was too, until I, made the thing. So like you talk, what are people's accomplishments? What are your gains? GAI. What are your interests? We have 1,000 interests, but whoever asks about our interests, not even our lovers half the time, right? But if somebody asks you about your interest, people are going to go absolutely start raving bonkers and start laying it on you.
That's true.
Right? And then networks. Most of us don't even know that we have networks. the groups that we belong to, the communities, the things that we're interested in, the neighborhood that we live in. These are all our networks.
I met Sam through a network.
Right, exactly. Right. And so networks, that's gains, and then your skills. What are your skills?
Right.
Or mine is definitely laughing and talking, and what I do for a living, which is my coaching, which I absolutely love. Those are, so if you were to get interested in somebody, you could actually use gains. Right. And if you don't know about it, look it up. GANS. Goals, accomplishments, interests, networks, and skills. That is an awesome way to communicate.
Was it goals, accomplishments, interests, networks, and skills?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great way to start a conversation. What are your goals? And they could talk about personal, they could talk about professional, they could talk about some goal that they have that one day out there in the future. But when you speak to somebody about their goals, it actually brings it closer.
Yeah.
So, it's being interested in people. It's kind of boring living by ourselves. I live by myself. It's boring living by myself. So when I go out into the world, I'm always going to meet somebody. So, and I think this is what he was talking about inside of these books, and what does he talk about here? It's good to be a good conversationalist. What do you think? What did you think about that chapter?
I think it's great. That particular chapter on conversationalists, I think that's related to be interested in people and, tell them their name. I mean, I think that, that's one of the most challenging things for people is being conversationalists. Because some people, I believe that you can talk to people about the gains. That's actually a good concept. Like the gains, okay? That
was created by Ivan Meisner.
Well, what occurs to me about that is that if you talk to people long enough about their gains, you'll find that you coincide, that your gains coincide with their gains somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
Because there's always a bridge, right? But the chapter you just said is
how to be a good conversationalist.
Right. Now that, to me, is related to everything, because if you ask somebody their gains, right, and goals, accomplishments, interests, networks, and skills, that that's just a loaded question, and right then and there, you become a good conversationalist.
Yeah.
But I think that a good conversationalist is someone who listens more and talks less. I think that's one of the chapters too. Listen, right? There's a chapter called Listen. So it's all related.
All of it. It's life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes we don't practice that. And I think I'm going to say that I feel, this is just my personal opinions, everyone. Well, because it's my show, I get to say my opinion. Right? I think that, people, you said it's a loaded question, right?
That's a good thing, by the way.
Yeah. I think that we are afraid to have conversations like that. Because there's so much, there are books written how to be a good conversationalist. First of all, you got to listen, and then you got to be engaged, and then you got to be attractive. And I say be attractive as in smiling, even if you only got one tooth. It's still. I love toothless smiles. I love looking at those people that they smile like that. I think it's awesome. But it's really about finding something that person is interested in. He talks about in the book, there's a little boy that's really into boats in the book. And his mother has a dinner party. And the gentleman spends practically the whole night talking to this little boy about boats. And so the mother he said to his mom, oh gosh, he spent the whole night, I'm paraphrasing, spent the whole night talking to me about boats. And his mother says to him, he goes, why did he do that? He said, because he was being polite. He was being interested in you. Didn't you like it? And the little boy said, I loved it. Well, come to find out, the man doesn't even like boats. I mean, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to know much about what the person is interested in. You just have to be interested in what the person is interested in. And there's a story in this book whereby this person, I don't know if it's a guy or girl, I can't remember now, goes to visit with this very wealthy man. And all she wants is for him to send one boy to Cub Scouts, who's in the Cub Scouts. She wants him to go to Europe with the other kids. And he goes in and he's listening to this guy talk about what he's interested in. And at the end of the conversation, when they're getting ready to go now, because he didn't even ask about the Cub Scout thing, right? And the man said to him, "I'm so sorry, what did you come for?" And he says, "Well, I'm here because I wanted to ask you to help us send one boy to Europe for this summer trip." And the guy ended up sending all like 5 boys or 7 boys to Europe, end up giving him or her $1,000. Then he ended up making sure she had introductions to all the people that he knew in Europe, and traveled around and saw the sites. And then he joined them in Europe, right? So it's like, you just don't know what can show up when and you don't want to just talk to people to see what's available. What can I get out of them? Because that's going to peep through. That's going to be completely inauthentic. But you want to be interested in people. You just want to, like, I wrote a statement today, and I haven't posted it yet, but it was like something to the effect of you can't a person that doesn't love themselves can't love you, right? So it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you be for them. It doesn't matter what you give them. If they don't love themselves, no matter what you do for this person, it's not going to be enough, right? And the key is, it's like, if you love yourself, like I have a belief that if I love myself, right, and I want to express that love, because it's my love to express. It's not like I love you because you're giving me something in return. It's what I've learned as I've grown and as I've gotten older, is that it's my gift, my love, my gift that I choose to give to you. Mm-hmm. And if you want to give me something in return, go for it. But it's my self-expression, right? And if you don't want to return anything, I can still love you, but I got to take care of myself and just move on. I don't have to be angry about it. I don't have to be disappointed about it, but just expressing who I am and what I'm about. And then that allows me to have people express what they're about and what they're interested in. I can be more of come from a listening space.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think when we look at this book, it's still very important today. It's, and even in the advent of technology and social media and FaceTime and all these various different things that we have, it's still pertinent. I think it's even more pertinent going forward. Anyway, we're going to go and we're going to take a break. I think this might be our last segment, right? Yeah, it's our last segment. Sorry, fellas. Sorry, guys and girls, people. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you feeling unhappy with your body, shape, or size? Ever feel out of control with food? I'm Elizabeth from Nourish the Soul, and on this show, you will uncover the root to these imbalances and discover a permanent solution to having a healthy relationship to food and your body. Join us every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
TalkingAlternative.com.
Hi, this is Noreen Sampson, and I'm back with Bruce.
Hello.
On beyond potential, live life your way. So I'm just going to nutshell it, because what's so good about this book is it's broken up into segments, and then he has it like in a nutshell, right? It's 6 ways to make people like you. It's what it's called. Principle 1, become genuinely interested in people, like genuinely interested, not like you're fake interested. I remember I was out somewhere and this guy smiled at me, and I was preoccupied, and I did one of these, like, you know, those smiles where you bare your teeth, and it's like there's your eyes are dead. Your eyes are dead and your body's got cement on it, and it was like that kind of smile. And he looked at me like, what was that? And I literally burst out laughing because it was just so horrible, right? And I said to him, that was really horrible, right? And he goes, yeah. And we died laughing because I did the exact thing. I'd never really done that, and I don't really do that. I usually smile or don't smile, but just that, you know, that smile that was so phony and fake and disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
I just had to die. We died laughing. It was so fun. So you want to have genuine interest, and the second one is smile. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest, most important sound in any language. Noreen. Oi, Noah. Right? 4, be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. Ask them questions. Get curious. Be engaged. You can do that at interview. Have the interviewer talk about herself in the company. Always gear it towards, and you know, you'll be surprised. At the end of the day, she goes, that was the greatest interview. Be curious about them. Number 5, talk in terms of the other person's interests, right? Always talk in terms, you know, I know that you're really into social media, right? So what about it in social media that you love so much?
It's just still such a young concept. And being an entrepreneur myself, I just like to use as many of them as possible to bring on myself, my clients.
And how long have you been doing social media?
12 years.
12 years.
Yeah, since before Facebook, since MySpace.
Oh yeah,
because I'm also a musician too.
Never had a MySpace account.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm a musician, so MySpace was kind of like the Facebook for musicians and comedians.
Right. Did you have an AOL account?
I did in like 1995.
When did AOL come out again?
1992, 93 probably.
Yeah, because
I early 90s.
Yeah, because I remember having a computer. I thought I was fly in the early 90s when I had a computer.
I loved AOL back then.
I had a compact, and the buffering and the buffering and so much.
Do you remember when AOL, they had all the busy signals? They had to give everybody back. They gave everybody back $3. I think $3 a month. For all the busy signals, yeah.
I don't remember that, but I do remember some people that were paying an AOL bill into the year 2000. Do you see what I mean? Look how I could have gotten a whole conversation about computers and AOL and all that stuff. So be interested in terms of the person. Make the other person feel important. I think this is easy I think making other people feel important is easy when you feel important and you feel good about yourself. If you don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to give that to somebody else, and you're not going to make them feel important. You're going to actually try to make them feel like shit.
That's true.
And I think that people that feel like shit often want to have other people feel like shit. So, and you know what? Here's the thing. If you bump into one of those people, don't take it personal. Just wish them goodbye. Just wish them a great life.
You want to hear a good trick to make somebody feel important?
What's the trick?
Sit lower than them.
Oh, get out of here. I'm not doing that.
No.
I'm not doing that.
I'm just saying there are times when...
You better not do that either.
Well, given my height, it doesn't really matter.
That's right. You'll disappear.
But that's actually a little bit of a psychological trick, and a person won't know why, but they'll just feel like you really respect them. It's
that to me is one of those inauthenticities that you don't, either you do or you don't.
That's true.
Right? Just be genuinely interested and just really be that the person is important, because they are important. They're as important just as much as you're important.
Oh, that's absolutely true. But I think it's more than, like you're saying, verbal, right?
Right.
But it's more. I think it's more than verbal. It's also there's body language.
There's everything. It's who you're being.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that we don't have to. I think the days of orchestrating fake and phony, I'm hoping that is dying. where we're doing little tricks and tips. No, just be you.
Okay, that's
true. Just be you, and just be, as he's saying, just make the person feel important.
Just make them feel important.
Can I get you anything? How would, just be interested in them and be interested in their comfort, and, that they're happy and that they're content. And if they're upset, like I'm upset with a person who will, in a profession that will remain nameless today. But you know what? I'm going to have a conversation with that person, because I felt I felt uncomfortable, and I felt like, wow, is this how we're going to build a relationship? It didn't sit well with me. And this person is good at what they do. They're really good at what they do. But the way they made me feel today, and yes, it's my feeling, but the experience I got from them was not a healthy one. So I know I have to get that resolved, because it will impact the good quality work that she's going to do on me. And she might not even be aware that she was being that way. So, it's really important to practice those skills. So I would like the viewers and listeners today to choose one thing. And if I was going to make a request of what I would like you to choose, I would like you to play in the world of smiling, right? And this is something that I also give to my clients, the smiling concept, which, especially when they're out and they say they're not dating, they're not getting dates. I'm smiling too much, I'm still not getting a date. No, that's me just being picky, right? But yeah, I always tell them, like, smile. Yeah, when you see men, just do a gentle smile. Just, appreciate. Just be in your beingness and be loving and giving of yourself. And what they've discovered is that, people smile back at them. They feel good, because it's healthy to smile at somebody and have them smile back at you. Children smile all the time until the smile gets beaten out of them by the time they're teenagers. But I think it's important to do that. So that's the one that I would really like to offer up to my clients. And if anybody would like to call in, forgive me, the number is 877-480-4120, and share a smiling story, or being interested in someone's story if you'd like to do that. I think that would be great.
I think that'd be excellent.
I can smile down the phone at you. That's a laugh down the phone. So what else did you like about this book? Let's just pick out something.
Well, I definitely like, and this is one of the challenges. I definitely like that chapter on, was it don't complain, criticize, and condemn. Is that right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And what's really funny is what you said, that, the nutshell. When I first read this book, that's what I would do. I turn to the nutshell first, and then I go back and read.
Okay.
Because the nutshell is obviously the nutshell. It's like, I didn't have the patience to read the whole thing. It's funny when you did that.
This guy is, I'm telling you, Dale Carnegie was pretty dope, I would say. Why? Because he wrote this book, and he wrote it in segments, and then he wrote the little nutshells, and he just talked about things that, like, a human, I wonder what he was thinking when he wrote this book. If your publisher says, we're just going to print 5,000 copies because we don't really expect that much. I wonder what he was feeling or thinking when he actually wrote that. I think that he was probably so spiritually in tuned. I think that he probably got a huge surge and download. And I think that he was probably practicing these tenets long before he actually wrote them down, right?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too, because he has the stories, right? The story about the man talking to the child with the boats. And, I think you have to have a lot of those stories to make up a lot of the books. Otherwise, just the theory is kind of boring sometimes, And like I was mentioning before, Think and Grow Rich is the same thing.
Yes.
Napoleon Hill, half of it is stories about people that use those principles.
Human beings love stories.
Yeah.
We love stories. We are where we were in the past, sitting around a campfire, telling stories and sharing and stuff. And it's the same concept inside of a book. It's the same concept inside of, inside of even going on the internet today. Now we can actually see live stories being played out, or people. I think it's great. This is just who we are.
Did you ever watch The Honeymooners?
Loved The Honeymooners.
Do you remember the episode when Ralph comes home and he says, pins and needles, needles and pins. It's a happy man that grins. And I put a big smile on my face, and I wonder, what am I mad about?
Exactly. That's perfect.
And that's just like, as soon as you said that, it got me thinking about that particular, and that was actually, I think he went to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist gave him that. And then if you saw Seinfeld with Frank Costanza, what is it? Serenity Now.
Right.
And
right.
he would smile too.
So, well, I just want to pretty much thank you because you were on your way home, actually. So I just want to thank you for staying and playing with me on a Tuesday night
I
on my
always
show.
wanted to be on the Noreen Sumter show.
Aww.
I really did.
You did? For real?
Yes, and I saw the book, and I'm like, okay, now I got 2 cool reasons to stay.
Aw, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I
me.
mean, I love this show, and if I could have everybody on the show, I would. You know, but I can't have everybody on the show. There's only what? Was it 52 weeks in a year? And you know, so I do 3 shows with people coming in. So you're. Thank you so much. That's all I can really say.
I believe that you can write that book yourself. You don't need Dale Carnegie.
Well, you know what? I probably could. The question is, would I? And it wouldn't be Dale Carnegie. It'd be Carnegie. It'd be Noreen Sumter. But anyway, I recommend this book. You can pick it up used for sometimes $1. You can find them in the streets. People still sell books on the streets. You can download it on Audible. You can for a credit. You can. It's being sold in so many. There's a black version, the African American version. There's the tech version. It's all the same version, but just updated today's time and. Yes,
that's like chicken soup for the soul.
Absolutely.
Like the same thing, right?
So anyway, guys, I'm going to now sign off, but I just want to say thank you so much for joining the show. Thank you, Leslie Byam, for joining the show, and Joan and Paula and everybody else that came on to cheer me on. Thank you, and I wish you guys a wonderful evening, and I'll speak to you next week. So talk to you all soon. This is Noreen Sumter signing off from Beyond Potential. Live life your way. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.